Hello, it's Judy and welcome back. I have a question for you. If you came across a book about a man who was born 120 years before you were born, and his life seemed so familiar, his friends, his stories, what would you do? This was me in 1980. Well, my reaction was to put my hands on every book I could find. There are several great stories to tell about this man. As students at IADT, I am going to tell the story about how William Morris crawfished his way into his destiny. And that term is a Louisiana term, and it means to shuffle back into, because that's how crawfish move. This shuffling backwards is how William Morris started his educational and his early career years. As a student at Oxford, the professors looking back said he wasn't particularly impressive, his grades were not particularly good, and still he became the man of his age. Instead of going to class, the students would meet in one of their rooms and discussed Ruskin, and one of these students was Ned Burne-Jones. And John Ruskin was at one time a professor at Oxford. He had left by then. He talked about Britain, art, about work, about meaning, and these young men just totally drank in Ruskin. They decided to make this newspaper on their poetry and their drawings. And the outcome of this experience was two things. Ned's little doodles showed his potential as an artist, and when Morris put in his poetry, the boys said, you know, you're pretty good at poetry. And Morris said, well, if this is what poetry is, it's pretty easy to do. Years later, that talent flourished, and when Alfred Lord Tennyson died, William Morris was asked to take his place as Britain's poet laureate. Out of college, William Morris gives his mother the horrifying news he is not going to be a pastor, but instead he has found his vocation and he is going to be an architect. He joins the Oxford branch of G.E. Street Architects, and during the first 9 months he learns the skill of drafting under the wing of a young architect named Philip Webb. At the end of 9 months, he is totally frustrated and leaves the architecture office. It happens that Burne-Jones introduces William Morris to Rossetti, and Rossetti assures that he can teach anyone to be a great artist. Rossetti is a pre-Raphaelite, and he is already very well known throughout Britain. So here the Morris story continues. Morris is very upset that he has to go and tell his mother that instead of being an architect, he has found his true vocation in becoming an artist. Now, like today, being an artist is not a happy thing to tell a mother.
Morris hopes that this was his destiny, and with confidence already bruised from a bad start as an architect, he puts his hopes in Rossetti's hands. Ned Burne-Jones and William Morris were of contrasting temperaments. Rossetti told Ned he was the laziest man he ever knew, for once he sat down to draw, he never got up again. Morris, however, was both fidgety and had ADD-like behaviors. No doubt, Rossetti was a patient man.
But after a long effort, he says, I can't teach you how to draw. William Morris's proportions on drawings women's bodies were terrible. He was cruelly teased for his inability, and that was the end of Morris's artistic career. The great outcome of this miserable experience is that Rossetti was asked to paint murals near the top of the ceiling for a library at Oxford. And Rossetti assembles all his artist friends and takes Burne-Jones and Morris in hand, and each does one of the many murals that line the top of the library at Oxford. All of these extraordinary painters did magnificent murals. Morris takes up a brush and he begins to paint the design textures that go on the ceiling. And these are his own designs, and he also paints the beams that go across the ceiling. And it comes about. He has this tremendous talent with pattern. And this begins the beginning of William Morris's entire concept of decoration. So he does crawfish his way into finding his career. This man was known for a great many talents, and his discovery of them was so slow and so painful. The final thought is that the road to finding one's talent is not an obvious road, and how we really can't define our current situation as totally bereft of good things, for we don't know what's hidden in them, and to delay judgment and to realize things are revealed slowly. And thank you for listening to my favorite stories about William Morris.